Vince texts me and says that I'm suspended. He says, well, I wish you could have, you know, lasted until the end of your contract, but you're suspended for 2 months. So I did the math in my head. It's the day after Mania, my suspension was up. So I was like, all right, I'm missing Mania. Fucking whatever. I don't care. I hate wrestling at this point. You know what I mean? I'm just like, blah, whatever. Sure. So the 2 months is up, and I don't hear anything. Nobody texts me. Nobody says your suspension is up. I had to listen to Vince on an investor call say that I was on a sabbatical, and I was like, huh, why wouldn't he announce to his investors that I was suspended? That's fucking weird. And then I don't get my royalty check. I got some wonky shit going on with the mail, so I just figured maybe it's late. So another week goes by, I don't get it. My wife,
well, you don't figure it's, but you also like,
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here, you know? And then I'm downstairs in my basement cleaning out bins that were on my bus, and I find a royalty check from last year that I just forgot to cash. And I'm like...
And can I put this full circle, though?
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me a story. You were at Harley Race's house once. And he like looked under the couch, found like a $10,000 check.
He just had him laying around the house.
Yeah. So I love how, what would Harley Race do? Here you are.
This check was for exponentially way more than that. So I find this check, and now I'm like, fuck, what do I do? You know? I'm like, I talked to my wife about it, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll call him, and I'll be like, you need to reissue me this check, plus send me my royalty check, because I haven't gotten it, you know? And I called the name of the guy who's on the check. His name's Tom. I call him, and he answers the phone right away. And I go, hey, Tom, it's Phil Brooks. And, like, I can hear his teeth start chattering. And he's like, and I was like, hey, dude, relax. Listen, I found this check. Here's the, I'll email you a number. Can you reissue me this? And I'm kind of assuming that maybe you guys are holding my check unless there was something wrong with my mail. Can you resend me my royalty check? He tells me the royalty check is on the desk of Scott Amon, who is their lawyer. And I went, well, why? Because I said, you can't withhold my money. You know, like, I haven't talked to anybody. Nobody's contacted me. Let me talk to him. Well, I'll tell him you called. Okay, what's his phone number? Get his phone number. And then every day I called Tom and I called the lawyer, and nobody picks up their phone. Nobody returns their phone calls. Nobody responds to my messages. They're not sending me the reissued check. They're not sending me my royalties. So I'm like, okay, so are we just stalemated, and then I'm just going to sit on my ass until my contract is up? That's fine, because there was a shitload of fucking money I was leaving on the table, but I didn't care because I was happy and I wasn't stressed out, and they weren't like slinging mud and freaking out, and I wasn't. And I was like, all right, well, maybe it's just, you know, two ships passing in the sea, and that's it. And I'll let them keep that fucking money, you know, even though that's like a lifetime of fucking money to most people. Right. I'll let them keep it because that's what my health and my sanity was worth to me. And then I would get weird butt dials. Like Mark Carano butt dialed me a few times. He would butt text me. I would get like an L or just like that blank text circle, you know what I mean? And then a woman by the name of Jane Geddes butt dialed me. Like, she called me and I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, cool. Maybe it's about my checks. You know, I'll let it go to voicemail, see what she says, because that's always what I do. It's just 7 minutes of dead. I can hear her talking to Mark Carano in like the talent relations room, you know? So I'm like,
Phil Brooks.
So I'm like, no, nothing like that. You couldn't really make anything out. So I'm like, fuck it. I called her back. Hey, James, Phil. I saw that you called. I'm assuming you called about the 2 checks that you guys need to send me. I'm overly nice. I tell her I hope she's good. This, that, blah, blah, blah. I don't hear back from her until like a week later, where she texts me and was like, oh, I didn't mean to call you, but I've looked into those checks. I'll get back to you. She never gets back to me. I didn't bother because at this point, I'm talking to the person who I'm supposed to talk to. It's talent relations. She's not calling me. She's not returning. They're not sending me the checks, blah, blah, blah. I have to switch gears here because I'm getting married. I'm planning a honeymoon. Plus the Hawks are in the fucking playoffs. Like, all hell's breaking loose. And I put that shit on the back burner because I don't care about the money. and I'm more focused on my fucking new life, my wife. I'm working on this honeymoon shit. I'm crossing my fingers that the fucking Hawks can wrap it up so I can go on my honeymoon, 2 days before my wedding, I get a text from Hunter out of the blue. Hasn't talked to me since Cleveland. And he says, "Hey, you got time to talk?" And I'm a little bit pissed off at this because it's the 11th of June.
I thought you were going to say it's game 2.
No.
I'm ready.
He's texting me during the hockey game. No, it's the 11th of June, and he texts me if I have time to talk. And I said, I'm a reasonable guy. I've always had time to talk. I've always just been a phone call away. But I'm getting married in 2 days, and I'm going to my honeymoon. How about we talk the day I get home, I'll fucking call you. In the meantime, reissue me that royalty check that I've been asking about for the past 2 months. Send me my royalties that I've been asking about for 2 months. That is reasonable. And then I'll talk to you when I get back from my honeymoon. He did not respond to the text. The day of my wedding, I got a FedEx in the mail. And it was my termination papers. I was fired.
You were fired.
I was fired.
Yeah.
So take that, everyone who says I need to be, I'm a quieter on Twitter.
You're a real quieter.
I was fired.
On your wedding day.
On my wedding day. Very calculated and very deliberate. And as much as I kind of chuckled at it and didn't let it affect my day, I was like, once again, you pushed too fucking far. You pushed the wrong guy.
And why should nobody hear about this, but fuck, man, some people this should be known that you're being fired on your wedding day.
Well, I mean, here's Vince McMahon who wants to hug me goodbye, and he has tears in his eyes, and he's like, "Oh, we're family," and he fucking fires me on my wedding day when I was just trying to get, and the letter was ridiculous. It was like your contract's terminated. You forfeit all of your royalty rights. You're in breach of contract as of January 27th, which I'm not even a fucking lawyer, and I know you can't claim retro breach. You know what I mean? Like, if I was in breach of contract on January 27th, January 28th, they had to be like, "You're in breach of contract. We're not giving you your royalties." And I would have been like, "Great, fine. I'm going to go home because I have the staph infection that you refuse to treat and diagnose. Plus, I have this concussion, and I've needed time off for at least a year, and you won't give it to me." So I just kind of laughed at that. There was a big no-compete, specifically naming Ultimate Fighting Championships, which I got a huge kick out of. I was like, all right. Okay, but they're not competition with WWE. But in mine and in Del Rio's no-compete clause, they're like, you can't go to UFC. But they're not our competition at all. Why would they be? No.
Well, because they're going to murder people in the ring.
Yeah, right. So, longer story short, I did a little bit of legwork. The 15 minutes I had to spare, I called a guy, a vicious lawyer. He's Jewish.
Shalom.
From LA, and I said, here's the deal. Here's who I am. Here's my story. I'm going on my honeymoon. I'll call you the day I get back. And he was like, "Great, let's get these motherfuckers."
Yeah.
And we did. We lawyered up, and we got those motherfuckers. And the only thing I can't talk about is the terms of the settlement. I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying that I got everything I wanted, and then some. So then there's all that shit about the video game, which was dumb of them to advertise me for the video game. Like 2K Sports tweeted at me, "Do I have your attention now?" Well, 2K Sports, do I have your fucking attention now? Thanks for the big fat check.
And you're it's split, right? I mean, it's done each ways. Obviously,
it took
you
a
could
while.
Come here
It took a while. They tried to do all this wacky shit where they asked me if I wanted to make a joint statement. I said, "Go fuck yourselves." They tried to throw a non-disparagement clause in where both sides wouldn't speak negatively of the other one. And I said, through my lawyer, obviously, I was like, "I haven't said a word since I left." I said, "You're the motherfuckers who go on television and call me a quitter in my hometown. So if you want to go on television in my hometown and fucking apologize and say that you lied, that I didn't quit, that you fired me on my wedding day, and see how they fucking react, I'll consider signing a non-disparagement clause." But I also had no plans to go on this big anti WWE tirade. And if anybody out there thinks that that's what this is, it's really not. It's just me telling my story. If there are negative and bitter parts, that's a part of fucking life. And like I said before, I've embraced it. I'm working through it. I'm getting over it. They kept saying, oh, we know your client's going to TNA. We know your client's going to TNA, and the whole platform is going to be fuck WWE and this and this. And my lawyer was like, I'll tell you right now, he's not going to TNA. He absolutely despises professional wrestling and he wants nothing to do with it. He says he's never going to wrestle again, and they just kept trying to get these little things because, like, as much, they're bullies. They want to, even though they're losing, they want to try to feel like they've won something. So, when you see my stuff on Shop Zone now, it's because they have X amount of merchandise that they've already produced that I'm allowing them to sell because, I don't know. Maybe there's a fan out there in Indonesia that wants texting gloves. They can get those now, and I get my royalties for it. I get my royalties for it, so it's all good. But there's no working relationship, and there never will be ever again. It's like that wedding day thing. It's pretty ridiculous, and I've had to deal with people, strangers on Twitter, and you asked me if it affects me, and I told you it does minusculely. Like, when they're like, oh. They'll tweet me and they'll tweet Ape like, oh, he's gonna walk out on your marriage like he walked out on his contract. Like, motherfucker, it's not even the same thing. For 10 years of my life, I was illegally listed as an independent contractor, and they were terrified that I was gonna go to court and ruin the way they do fucking business. I would like to see them fucking get some sort of a union for the boys and girls. That way, I know they're serious about protecting them from concussions and other things. There should be something like that in place, but there's not. They're independent contractors, but they can't work anywhere else. It's just like UFC's not WWE's competition, but you can't go work there for a year after we fire you on your wedding day. I don't like it. And I don't have to fucking like it. Yeah. And I'm out, and I'm super stoked, and I focus on shit that makes me happy. I'm writing comic books. I'm fucking training my ass off, and I'm married, and that's the important shit.
You're just cool.